Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 27 of my Industrial Revolution 3 playthrough. In this episode, we are going to fight a bunch of biters and build a giant wall. Enjoy! So at this point, we've basically finished all of the research that we can do that doesn't involve gold, because that is going to lead us into electronics. So unfortunately, we're at the time now where we have to build a giant wall. We don't strictly have to do a wall. We did find gold up here, but that would be very out of the way and very exposed if we didn't at least try to protect it. Probably just the bare minimum of wall to like come up over here. So basically it means we need to prepare for a pretty big journey. We need to have lots of weapons to clear out all of these biters, and also lots of wall segments. We do need to design the wall segment, but also we need to make sure we're going to have the necessary amount of equipment. We do have a lot of scatterbots left over, but they're not quite as good as the defender capsules, and we're probably going to need a lot of them. Because as we found out, the rockets are very good, but they're only so effective, and using the machine gun and using the flamethrower are quite dangerous to our character still because we don't have any shields. We're good on medical packs here, so we can heal up. We don't have any fish left over, but we probably don't really need them if we're playing safe enough. So we have automated the production of ammo and rockets and flamethrower stuff, but out of all of the other military stuff we're going to want, it's kind of annoying, but we probably need to manufacture these defender capsules. It's just too much handcrafting if we try to do it ourselves. Plus, actually, the ability to handcraft them is actually quite limited now because we pulled out the iron magazines for the steel ones. So first of all, we need more iron magazines, and I think we just crushed all the existing ones we had. So oops, they're all in scrap form now. But we got most of the materials back, so it doesn't really matter. Since we are going to grab gold, we might as well get it researched now so we have something to do when we get it. And we are researching something where we already have the first 2 tiers of ore processing. So we get the original recipe, that's just a 1-to-1 ratio with 125% pollution. And of course it can go into any of the furnaces. And then the recipe to crush it, which then increases the yield to 150% and lowers recipe pollution to 100%. And if you so happen to have gold scrap, that is a 50% recipe. And the main reason we are doing all of this is because we need to make gold foil. So we'll research that, and then after that it goes into electronics, and I suppose we'll just wait for that until we actually have gold. After that, the labs will be able to relax again. And there we go, working away. So as far as military equipment, that's basically got us prepared. We could make grenades, but their functionality is very similar to rockets, except the rockets are much safer in the sense they have a much longer range. And for short range, we'll have flamethrower ammo. And right now we don't really need to do landmines. It's certainly something we can do, but again, it's kind of rocket adjacent, so we might as well just use the rockets. So now that we are militarily prepared, we need to prepare our wall sections. And of course, we're going to need the crawler for this. And we're going to have a lot of wall sections we're going to need to build, so to minimize the amount of trips we're going to need to make, let's try to grab enough so we only have to make one. I don't know how likely that is, that we can only make one trip, but we should try. Okay, well, first we're going to need to actually build a wall segment. And what will it include? Well, certainly walls. The occasional radar, but we can just handcraft a few of those. Ultimately though, it's going to have turrets, and we have the choice between the scatter gun, the auto turret, and the flamethrower. The flamethrower is certainly effective, but it's also quite expensive and wasteful when it comes to the actual oil. And it's most effective against extremely large hordes of biters as they are attacking the wall. It's probably going to be a lot less important with the reinforced steel wall, so we could potentially give the turrets just time to clear them out. However, we have removed much of the copper age out of our bus here, so building scattergun turrets might not be the best idea. Although the only thing we don't have that we would need is the basic motor, and that itself is also made from copper, so we potentially could make these on our bus. So as far as the two are concerned here, the auto gun turret certainly has a slightly longer range, and it fires 10 times as fast. And let's look at our shotgun, where it fires at the same speed, and so does the submachine gun. So ultimately, the comparisons between scattergun turrets and autogun turrets is essentially the same as our inventory, where technically the scattergun turret does more damage, but every pellet has to hit, and all of the enemies need to be very close, whereas the autogun turret can fire against small enemies and loses no DPS for doing so. But another question is, how much ammo do we want to make? Because one thing we're going to have to do is deliver all of this ammo to a big wall, which means we're probably going to have an enormous belt coming over here to deliver ammo, and it's just going to snake all over the place. We could use a train, but since the entire wall needs a belt, there's kind of no point, because we're just going to need thousands of belts to do this. And that whole belt is going to be filled up with ammo. There's really no way around it, unfortunately, until you have logistics bots and you could deliver small quantities of ammo that if you don't want to babysit the wall, you're just going to need to have a lot of ammo in it. Either that or use flamethrower turrets. I suppose that's the advantage of those, is that the only ammo would be inside the pipes, which is relatively limited. Plus, you can always just suck it out of the pipes and send it somewhere else, so it really doesn't matter too much. That is the advantage, but we have to think, what happens if we make too much of this? We will eventually have to crush it, and can we crush the steel cartridge? Because my question here is that when we crush metals, we get the scrap back, but is there such a thing as plastic scrap? I don't think that there is. So taking a look at the cartridges, the steel cartridge is the best one, and if we throw it in, we only get the steel back. We would not get the plastic. Whereas if we did, say, iron, we would get the iron in the tin, and bronze in tin, and copper in tin. So unfortunately, you kind of lose quite a bit by crushing steel cartridges, and eventually we would. The shotgun turrets are nice, but eventually we'd probably switch it to something else. Like, one advantage of the laser turrets is that you don't have a giant belt of ammo. So as useful as it would be to have scattergun turrets, we probably don't want to, because we need to think of the future when we need to scrap this stuff down. Whereas if we wanted to scrap down the steel magazines, we absolutely could, and we would just get the scrap back. We wouldn't need to worry about losing all that plastic. And it's not like plastic is super valuable, but we might be looking at thousands and thousands of plastic that just gets lost to the ether because we needed to make thousands of shotgun shells. Seems unwise. So that means we would want to have, essentially, some autogun turrets. And that's another thing we're going to have to figure out how to make. We need the plates, iron beams, and gears. And we'll probably need a lot of these, so how about we use a tin pallet? And I don't think this is something we need to make a request for, because we're only going to need it for certain circumstances. And let's see, anything it's slow on? The gears. Well, we've got some turrets, but that's enough to work on our wall. Right now, we just need to make a pattern that we can plan for and then figure out exactly how many wall segments we're going to need. Well, let's just grab all of that, I suppose, because we're going to need a lot of wall. Okay, we need to make a pattern that is easily repeatable and gives us an idea of the total amount of numbers we're going to need. So, of course, it would be a beautiful steel wall with 1250 health, which is nice. And how many turrets do we want to do? Well, on one hand, I would love to do a bunch of them, but on the other, I would prefer to only have the minimum amount of turrets and then only build them up when we actually need more. So the most basic form of the wall would be something like this, and then of course it would have a power pole. How far down would we want to do this? We don't want there to be any gaps. And it's not as simple as, well, they attack the wall segment right here, because there will be spitters. So if you have two circles, it's possible there could be spitters right here, and then they will be out of range. So you kind of need to make a judgment call on that. We would want some lights in here when possible. I guess we'll put them on top, because there's no room on bottom. Although bottom is the better place. So how about let's pick this thing up and then just place it down again. Because we do want basically the whole thing. That does seem to be it. Okay. Let's make a blueprint of it. Don't need the tiles for now. We'll have to build a bunch of them. Who knows how many of them we'll want to build. I guess we can leave that there just as an example. But for now, how about we build How about 100 of them? It seems like a lot, but one thing to keep in mind though is that this pattern will overlap on itself. So when we need 100 of these, we actually only need 100 copies of these walls. However, the things that are repeating at the top and bottom, we don't really need. It would be nice just for lining them up to still have them be in the blueprint. So this patterns properly. We want to drop the height a little bit, and it looks like it's going to need to be 3 squares shorter, which does the trick here, and it's relative. So now when we come in here and hover over this, if we come over here, it overlaps, and if we come down here, it overlaps. So we definitely want those little bits in there, but we just need to keep that in mind when picking stuff up. So if we want to build 100 of these, that means we need 3,100 walls, which is gonna take a while. In fact, I don't even think that's gonna fit in here. So maybe we need to drop this a little bit, because that would be 6 lines of squares alone, basically just for the walls. So how about we do 50 copies? So that's about 1,500 or so of the walls, and it's also the same quantity of belts. It's gonna be so much. Because we're needing so many belts, it's time for tin pellets, at least where they fit. Fortunately, we can't really grab anything from our other mining bases because they don't have any of these components on hand. And additionally, we will want 1 copy of everything else. So 50 inserters, 50 power poles of both the small and the large ones, 50 lights. These are all things we naturally carry in our inventory anyway, so having them won't be difficult. We just need to make sure we have the turrets, which we now have more than 50 of, and we'll be good to go. Well, I guess one other thing we'll also need to remember to bring is lots of copies of land materials we'll need, because we might be running into water, so we'll need landfill, and we'll be running into cliffs, which means we need cliff explosives. Another thing we do need to do is build up a huge supply of ammo magazines, because we're going to have a huge belt. And how much are we going to need? Well, I guess it depends on how many items fit on one belt segment. It's been a while. I guess we can test it. I'm pretty sure one segment holds like a fraction of items. So to fully test it, you would need multiple sections. Well, actually, there is something else we can do as well. It's kind of funny. And how about we record the amount of items on all 4 of these? So we'll do an arithmetic combinator. Let's just space things a little bit. Where this is going to be read belt contents, and it's going to hold the signal, if there's anything on there. It's going to send it here. It's going to look at every signal and divide it by the number of belt sections we have, which is 4, and the output will be the same item. And then it'll output into this. And what are we going to throw on there? It could be anything. So what that number should tell us is the average number of items that are on the belt. And well, I think we've got it because it's clogged. And it's 4. I would like a decimal though, if that would be possible. And now, you have to remember there's going to be a little decimal right here that we have 4.0. That was a lot of work to confirm the average number there, so hopefully that was correct. It's been a long time since I've looked that up to see what belts can actually hold, and I typically don't do very complex circuit networks when they come to the exact number of items on a belt, so I don't really remember how many items, but about 4, which gives us an idea that if this pattern is going to be done 50 times, and it has, let's say, 1,500 belt segments, then it means that it's going to have about 6,000 ammo magazines to fill it up. To give you an idea of scale, it's a lot. So because of this, prior to getting everything hooked up, we should probably just let the ammo machine run and just fill it up. I doubt it's actually going to get filled up by the time we are done with this, but I don't know, maybe it will. But we also need some extra ammo magazines to fill the belt going there in the first place. So that's basically what I was looking for there. Okay, it looks like we have just enough here to try out our wall. So let's go for a drive. And because no fear, we'll just drive on the tracks. And let's see where we'd want to start this wall. Uh-oh. Wasn't ready. Well, I don't even really need to do anything. They'll do it. Well, quick, while they're still here. We have 15 seconds left. Come on, hurry up. No. Well, we definitely want our wall to encompass this oil patch right here. It's kind of hard to tell where it is, but they're all around here. And we'd want it to kind of come up here. And that's basically the thing we'd want to save. There's really no reason to push it any further because there's not really any materials out here we'd want. Fortunately, we're still going to have to fight these biters. There's really no way around that. And ideally somewhere where they won't be able to walk through. Like right here, maybe? It's nice having cliff explosives. So if that's in the right place, yep, we can't walk through. The wall isn't particularly effective without the ammo. So we are going to have to deal with that. Hopefully we don't anger the biters too much by doing this, considering the wall cannot defend itself right now. So we should probably get the ammo here rather soon so we don't have to worry about that. And also start placing the radars, which will then help us place future patterns. Okay, we're going to have some biters over there. Yep. Time for some robots to help out. Do we need to do anything besides, like, be a distraction? It's quite effective. I mean, yeah, we could use trains, but at this point, wouldn't really save us that many of the ammo magazines when you consider the full length of this wall. It's not really that much more to save this little bit and have a train in there. Plus the train itself is going to have a huge quantity of materials just waiting to be used. Well, at least it didn't interact up here. It's getting increasingly messy in here. No, we don't have any power poles. Probably can't build any either. Oh, we can, never mind. Build one. And that'll just empty that. This is going to be just an incredible amount of ammo, but it's kind of how it is. If you don't want to go running out there constantly delivering ammo, you basically have to do this. If you want to do it before robots, which we certainly do. And thank goodness. Cliffs are no longer an issue. Don't mind us, spider corpses. So for now, I guess I'll just go straight over the oil patches since we're not actually using them yet for anything. And then when it gets here, it can split the ammo in both directions. And then right here, we can use our new big power poles to more conveniently hook up with the existing network. We have power, and now the ammo will be picked up, and we can also start placing radars down so we can do blueprints, which will make life a little easier. I guess for now I'll put it behind there. So has the ammo made it? Not yet. And the radar doesn't quite cover there, but it's coming. Okay then. Now that we have radar, doing this is much easier. Fortunately though, we're probably going to run out of batteries because all of them went into making robots. Well, now the scary part. We have to fight those biter nests. And it's a lot of them. I think we're going to have to commit to our better robots for this. And also, lots of rockets. Because I need those turrets to defend me while I use area of effect here to take care of all these. I have to be careful not to destroy my own robots as well. Also try not to waste too many of the rockets. They still okay? Mostly, but they're about to run out. think I can use the scatter bots now. We don't have quite so many of these to go through. Thank you. Well, that wasn't too bad. I was expecting that to be worse, but as it turns out, lots of robots plus area of effect is pretty good. Oh, and look at that. The ammo's finally made it. Until it runs out. How are we doing on materials? Well, we actually have quite a bit left over, surprisingly. And there we go. That's probably maybe 40% of our wall now. We just need to come up here and take care of lots of biters. And since we are basically out of batteries, we need to go back. It's always something, right? Fortunately, we still haven't caught up on batteries. It is annoying we'll have to run down here to charge our batteries rather than grab them from up here. Guess we could put another charger up there just to handle that, but oh well. Under normal circumstances, we don't need batteries that fast. We're just consuming a ton of them because we're using the heavy roller. That's a lot of charging happening now. So much so that it's the second most energy consuming thing on our network. But that's because the factory is kind of dormant right now. I guess we should go up, because the wall is completed on the west. Try to carefully drive through here to not destroy the trees, but they will regrow, even if we do run down a few. But not today. There are some biters over there, but we can worry about clearing all the biters out once we actually have a wall and they can't get in anymore. Another small nest. Another job for the scatterbots. Oh hey, we have a glittering rock right there for some diamonds. And we've got something we want to include now. So now we know where the wall should be. Just to build the minimum number of wall segments, how about we start it from right here. Let's make sure we can't walk through here. It looks like we can in this situation. Let's put some more walls in there to make sure. There we go. But it's sealed off now. And it looks like if we place this up here, maybe line it up there, we now have a new corner for our wall. So let's line it up and keep it going. Yeah, those biters are really close. That's kind of a dangerous looking nest, so let's use the better bots. Barely need the rockets. And a nice long cliff that we don't need. So we can clear that much out of the way. It does actually take quite a bit of resources to clear out a huge cliff. Okay, here we go. Hopefully nothing bad happens. Bots to the rescue. Luckily, this captures a uranium patch as well. It's like 2 cliffs for the price of 1. So that's nice that we have the uranium secured for when we eventually will need it. Well, we do have some biters to fight right here. We might as well. And those are some bigger nests, so I think we need the better bots. Basically, it seems like the things we're shooting are the worms. because we just need to avoid getting killed. There's a lot of guys in here. Kind of want to refresh the bots. Oh man, look at all of this. That's so much. I guess the range of these rockets is a little better than I'm giving it credit for. As long as you see the little green target indicator, it means you could reach. So we can hit all the way out here. Man, thank goodness for these rockets. Whew, that was a lot of biters. My goodness. But I think we got him. Well, we won't be gathering any of these resources yet, but might as well put them on yarn. That's the only gold patch we have, so we're just gonna have to make it last until we find more. So with that, our giant wall is now complete. We have secured our own little paradise here. At least there's no immediate gold patches like right over here. That always happens when you build the walls. You find more resources just out of reach that you really wish you would have known about. One interesting thing is that there really isn't any extra coal. There is a big one out there though. So we'll have to be careful with our coal usage and not go crazy with it until we're ready to expand again. The next thing we need to do is clear out all of the biters, which are trapped in the walls. And there are a lot of them. And some of these nests are extremely large, like the one we're about to approach. So, protect me, robots. Basically, I need to fire at these spitters from maximum range. Having all that area of effect damage is nice. Whew. That was a little nerve-wracking. Now we're just on a biter hunt. Every time we see a nest, we go for it. They're definitely sending out the big biters now. And once everything's damaged, we can just kind of run in here and let the robots clear everything out. I think this is the first time we've actually approached this polluted steam. So there it is. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. We can get geothermal power out of it, but we do have to process it first. And we're not quite at that point. There we go. The only other thing we might want to consider is moving some of these radars around. Fortunately, this gap is going to be really annoying. I kind of don't even want to fill it in. I know it'd be kind of triggering, but that would involve shifting all of these radars over by one just to fill in that tiny little hole. And I'm not particularly interested in doing that. At some point we will have a radar grid that completely covers the factory, and at that point we can get it set up in such a way that doesn't have any annoying gaps like that. Otherwise, though, the radars will continue to scan out there for more resources we might need. Ooh, some more sour gas. That potentially could be useful in the future. That's a lot of copper. Whew. But I'm glad we have a lot of oil. Well, before we go out there and get that gold, we might as well do the electronics research as well. Not that it will be very difficult, but we need the gold for the gold foil, And this unlocks a new recipe of tinned wire, just regular wire with a tinned ingot. We combine that with the silicon that we're already making and the gold foil that we will soon make, and we can make a semi-conducting triode. And then to make an advanced circuit, 5 of those go in, as well as some more tinned wire, and finally, we're going to start using up a bunch of that plastic bar. Right now, we're really only using the plastic for like shotgun shells, and that barely uses any, especially because we're not actively using the shotgun shells anymore. So this is going to be our initial big dump of plastic. So we set up all of that oil processing because we knew we were going to get to this point, and definitely when it comes to material progression, the electronics tiers are pretty significant, and it's kind of funny to see kind of how we came down here, where it was basically automation to crushing to bronze, glass, iron, electricity, essentially circuits 1, and then we just needed a bunch of stuff, but basically we needed to automate everything with electric, and then we needed gold, we needed steel, we needed plastic, and here we are, to electronics. But also, you can make the computer version of these, and they are even more expensive than the previous tier, and it also requires the previous tier. Although you won't need basic computers nearly as much, you'll still need the circuits though, and those are the items that are turned into tier 2 modules, among other things. So we definitely want to be able to pump out these, because the second we can, we're going to have a lot of machines that are going to need to be upgraded. And that requires the small steel frame, which we're not really making yet because we don't need them. Then we'll be able to make the large steel frame by using the computer and a bunch of steel parts, and I imagine that is similar to the iron steel frame that we're doing now. And a new item, the junction box, which is a small steel frame, the advanced circuit, and a lot of heavy copper cable. So we do that, and suddenly we have lots of places we can take it. But don't get too excited, because all of these basically require the circuits. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we're going to go get that gold and start making red circuits. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.